Welcome everyone to yoga and how to modify it. My name is Dee and I'll be guiding your practice today. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat on a blanket or a rolled up towel. You could also lie down with something very shallow or not very deep under your head. Since it's a new series of yoga and how to modify classes, I'm going to be expanding upon what I'm offering you when I cue. So I've added a couple of props that I didn't use last time, a very large yoga ball and a bolster. And I've used a chair before. We have blocks, straps, and a tennis ball or any other round object, not too hard. Um, Hopefully you know someone that plays tennis that gets rid of some tennis balls when they get too used and abused. All right, so with that, go ahead, find a comfortable position with comfortable, loose fitting clothes. Sweatpants work great, sweatshirts during this time of year. We'll close our eyes, resting our hands somewhere comfortable, legs straight or knees bent, doesn't matter. You could, as I said, lie down. Let's put one hand on our chest, sort of mid chest, and one hand right by our navel, maybe a little below. And now just begin to focus on your breath and let it become more lengthened, both on the inhale and on the exhale. And we'll move into a type of breathing or breath work pranayama called belly breathing. And to do this, we want to draw the air through our respiratory system. Make it feel like it's coming all the way down to the navel. In other words, let it expand your belly and then release the belly. Most likely now your breath is a little deeper. It's a little more optimal. Sitting up as straight as possible will help you take the deepest breath you can. And just continue with a few more rounds of belly breathing. In this series of 16 classes, I'll be alternating gentle practices with what's considered a more continuing level class. This, I hope, will accommodate more people. So if you're only wanting to use the gentle courses, you can come back to that as many times as you need to. So maybe you want to take it an extra time during the week and then wait for the new one the following week. Same with the continuing side. Today's class will be gentle. Next week, we'll have a continuing level class. Go ahead and release your belly breath, release your hands, let them come down to your sides by your hips and help support you if needed. You can keep them in your lap if that's not needed. Take some time to feel like you're pressing into your sits bones beneath you, right in the middle of your pelvic bowl there. And then let your spine lengthen. See if you can stretch the crown of your head towards your ceiling or sky. And take some deep breaths here. After 3 or 4 of these kind of cleansing breaths, you can sigh them out if you like that sensation. Let's begin to adjust our legs if needed to wiggle our toes. Sitting up still nice and tall, using our hands to support us, maybe using blocks to the side to support Knees can be bent here. Let's wiggle our fingers if that's available. Maybe point and flex the feet. We're going to move into windshield wipers from here. So do what you need to do to draw both feet under you. Set them solidly on the floor, pressing into all four corners there. And just slowly begin to rock your knees back and forth. This isn't supposed to be a quick movement. Just kind of notice how the head of the femur feels inside of your ball and joint of the hip there. And if you'd like to begin to let your knees float down a little more, you can do that. Keeping yourself propped up on your sits bones still, trying to keep your back flat, your tummy engaged, muscles tight. Let's bring our knees back to center, straighten our legs, and we'll sit up nice and tall. Let's do a sun breath forward fold. So on your next inhale, we'll lift the arms up. Next exhale, fold forward over the legs. Knees can be bent here. You can start to round your spine, let the head droop or drop. Chin rather can tuck towards the chest. Arms can be heavy. Engage your core first, then inhale, lift your arms back up over your head. It's a reverse of how we got down. And then release the arms out to the sides and bring them down beside you for support. If your space is limited, you can always do your sun breaths forward. They don't have to be done out to the side. Just a little note there. Next, let's move to seated wide angle pose. So begin to draw your legs apart. Maybe you draw each leg all the way. Maybe you take some baby steps where you slowly bring both feet out wide before determining whether you can go further or not. Set yourself in a comfortable position where you're feeling just a little bit of a sensation, but it's not a stretch or a pull. Let's press through our heels, drawing our toes towards our shins, sitting up nice and tall. We'll take a forward fold from this position too in that sun breath, and I'll demonstrate arms going forward instead of out to the sides. So we'll inhale, arms up. Exhale, we'll lower our upper body, but we'll always let our hands come down first so our arms and hands can support us here. Let's keep the back flat first, and then re-press through the heels, or surge kind of some energy into those heels, and then begin to slowly round. Let the body lower as much as possible. Let the chin tuck. Place the hands and arms wherever it's best to support you. Maybe the hands are shoulder distance apart. Maybe they're wider. Maybe they're towards you. Maybe they're farther away. That's how we accommodate and make yoga our own. Just by trying and exploring, your body will naturally go more to where it feels comfortable than to where I'm cueing. And that's a good thing. All right, we'll engage our core again. Let's lift the chin up away from the chest first, and then we'll inhale, drawing our arms up overhead, reversing our flow as we exhale. Arms can come down in any way. Let's come from there into butterfly. So we'll draw each leg in, each foot comes in toward the other. We press our toes and our heels together. Everything's lined up. Now we'll release our knees out to the side, making sure we're sitting up nice and tall. That spine is straight, crown of the head reaching towards the sky. Take a few breaths here. If you want, stay in stillness. If you'd like, inhale your knees up. Exhale, releasing the legs. Inhale, lift. Exhale, knees relax and lower. Keep moving or keep breathing. Nice. All right. Let's bring our knees back up, feet come back up onto the floor. Hands come back around beside us. We can prop them up if we want. We'll windshield wiper once again. Side to side here. Next time the knees are up, we'll straighten the legs out. Sitting up nice and tall in our staff pose. We'll take a forward fold once again with an inhale, lifting the sun breath, arms up. Exhale, release. Let your hands support you. Surrender your upper body over your lower body. Let the next inhale lift you back up, engaging the core. Arms come back up overhead. Exhale, releasing the hands down by the sides. Work your legs out once again, away from each other, taking the time to set yourself in a comfortable position, to get those sits bones rooted to the floor, heels rooted to the floor, the backs of the calves, or the calves are rooted to the floor, backs of the legs. Sitting up nice and tall. Another sun breath. Inhaling, arms come up. Exhaling, we tilt forward, fold. Exhale here. Stay relatively lifted, maybe halfway between the floor and the sitting up nice and tall. Let's walk our hands over now towards one leg. And let's touch our nose towards our knee, or just let our body release. I like to pull my elbows in if you like to keep your hands more extended. Maybe placing them on the legs. That's another modification. We're breathing here, feeling the stretch from the hip, possibly to the ankle. Let's now walk the hands, kind of arching them like a rainbow, back to the center and over to the opposite leg. Let yourself surrender to this side. Both sits bones still rooted to the floor. So if you're finding that the opposite side is lifting, you'll need to pull it back a little bit. Keeping the head as much in line with the torso, or getting that nice stretch by tucking the chin. You'll know where you're most comfortable, and that's where you can hang out and breathe here. You want to be in a relaxed position so that you can enjoy the stretching of the body part that's being attended to and most stretched in that position. Let's walk our hands now back to center. We'll come up from here. We can also walk our hands towards our hips once they're in the center and not lift them at all. And that can be really nice for dealing with lower back issues or pangs, like let's say in lifting to come up with tightening your core. That's not quite enough. You need your hands to support underneath you. That's an excellent way of making yoga your own. With our legs still out wide, let's go ahead and come into a twist. We're going to bring opposite hand to the knee across the way. We'll sit up nice and tall. Our back shoulder, we want to release that arm down low. The hand comes to the floor or a block or another prop if that's better for you. And first, just turn and sit up nice and tall and breathe. You want to always be able to have this nice long breath coming in and out of the body, extended from your normal everyday breath. Now let's come into the twist by inhaling, letting us stretch our spine, elongate it towards the sky as much as possible on that inhale. As we exhale, we'll twist rather, using both hands to support the upper body and head. We can move our chin to the back shoulder, move our eyes there. And then bring the eyes back to center, bring the chin back to center, bring the chest and arms back to center, and bend up through each leg. Let the knees have quite a strong bend in them. And we'll windshield wiper side to side. That was getting just a little too much. So let that be a point. If any position's getting to be a little too much for just a little too long for your body right now today, please move out and do your own little thing. Maybe do another forward fold, something else we've just done, something else you're called to do that you know will feel good. Let's come back into that wide angle, pressing through both heels, sitting up nice and tall first, facing the front, everything square. But from the knees down, the thighs down. Let's now turn, opposite hand goes to the knee, across the way. Back arm is supported by the hand underneath you, maybe using a prop. Sit here for just a moment with the chest twisted. Then we'll inhale, lengthening. Exhale, twisting and holding here. Bringing the chin maybe to the back shoulder, eyes back behind you. Maybe noticing the different side to side in your twists before bringing your eyes back to center, your chin back over your sternum, your arms and hands back and chest facing forward, and we'll windshield wiper just a couple of times here. Next, we'll head up into our table where we will start some cat cows. Let's work on our breathing here, on using our breath as we undulate the spine, maybe setting up some sort of cushion under your knees, letting yourself come into alignment here. Inside of elbows facing each other. Maybe thumbs are pointing directly toward each other. Everyone's slightly different. Fingers extended and widened. And then you can begin. And just sort of naturally see what your breath begins to do. Maybe you're inhaling as you come into cow and exhaling as you round the spine into cat, or it could be opposite. Inhaling to cat and then exhaling to cow. The middle of the spine is lifting and lowering right across from the navel, right? And the head is tucking, tailbones tucking, and then fanning out. Maybe stay a little longer at the top or at the bottom of your movement. Let's all bring our spines back to neutral and let's begin the barrel roll. Think of your torso as a barrel and see if you can modify your hips and your elbows to lower your torso, lift, draw it around, up and over, down and through. We're going to roll our torso like a barrel. There's a little bit of an arch and a little bit of a rounding. And there's some side sort of swaying with the hips and shoulders. Let's stop there and go the opposite direction. So this is what I'm meaning by a very gentle, accommodating practice. You could be sitting in a chair Maybe placing your hands on a wall, widening the legs away from each other to get a similar type of movement. Let's come back to our table here. We're going to use our right foot as a kickstand, lifting up the toes and the heel and placing it outside the mat on the floor, on the edge of the mat. And then we'll step the opposite foot back. We're going to lengthen that leg. So straighten the knee. We'll press on the hand that's on the same side as the kickstand, lifting the opposite hand to stack the shoulder and hip. So we're half mooning here. We can stay with the arm down by our side. We could even stay here, building our core to be able one day to press up and lift. We may go back and forth. We may not be able to hold this position, but we can get there up and down, strengthening our bodies. We can lift the arm, stacking top wrist over bottom. We can extend the arm, the upper arm right by the ear. Check in with your balance. See what your body wants to do, where it gravitates towards in the cueing, and then stay there. Once you're releasing that pose, so exhale, draw your arm and leg in. Sorry, I did that a little bit too fast. So we want to always lower our arm, draw the knee in, and then come over here, kind of like a rolling back square to the mat. Let's sink back into child's pose. And take a couple of breaths here. Stretch your arms way out ahead of you. Lower your chest towards the floor, your abdomen towards your thighs. One more breath here. And let the next inhale lift you back up to table. Square off everything. Come into that same alignment if you want to do a couple cat-cows. I think that's always good. We'll come back to neutral with the spine. This time we lift up the left foot. The toes come out to the side and lower, giving us a little kickstand. We'll extend the opposite leg in alignment with that bent knee. We're straightening the leg we're moving so that we can turn our chest, stacking our shoulders and hips toward the opposite side for that half moon. We can stay anywhere we want. So we can start to do a pose and then kind of get off at a different bus stop. If you like that analogy, I tend to like that analogy, so that we're all where we need to be to match how our yoga can be better built for our bodies. When you're ready to release, pull the arm in or down rather, get that knee in, square off your body, kind of rolling yourself back square with the floor. And then we'll sink our hips back for that child's pose. Release our chest forward. If your elbows and forearms were on the floor last time, lift them this time. Walk your fingertips away from your body. And if you were doing that last time, let your elbows and forearms relax on the floor this time. Or do the same thing as you did the last time if you like that. Let your next inhale lift you back up into table. From here, we'll come into the asana of pigeon. So we can put our foot forward and our knee forward in one of many ways. I'll demonstrate 3. We can walk our hands towards our knees. We can use some blocks here to press ourselves up away so that we come to a high kneel. That's if our knees are feeling pretty good. From here, we can step one foot forward, bringing the bent knee into a right angle. And we're going to sink the hips forward. I'll give you that cue later. Another way to come into this pose is to come up into down dog and step that foot forward and then lower the knee, flatten the back foot, release your hips towards the floor. You could bring your blocks with you. We're going to get this stretch first, kind of a runner's lunge, first. Now let's rock back with the hips. Straighten this forward leg. Lift just the toes up off the floor. Keep the heel grounded until you get a stretch in your hamstring. Take a couple breaths here. Now, see if you can lift up enough to bend this forward knee, bringing the knee towards the wrist if your hands and palms are on the floor. If they're on a block, just bring that forward knee, same side we're still working on, towards the wrist. And we'll now cinch that back leg back behind us and lower our hips as much as we can. The heel and foot that you're on top of can be squared if that's more comfortable. Or what a lot of people begin to do is make this an external rotation of the hip and femur, and they'll bring the foot under them a little more to the opposite side, and then they'll sink into their pigeon. You can do pigeon on a chair by standing right in front of the chair so that you're looking at the front side of the back, and then rock your hips forward as you lift this leg, bend this knee, and see if you can keep your upper body. You can hold on to the back of the chair, the sides of the chair, finding a similar stretch. Take another deep breath here. Some people like to let their pigeon rest, coming down on the forearms, or come into sleeping pigeon by laying all the way down, bringing the chest and the head and the arms to the floor, making a little pillow, perhaps. You could also use a bolster under you here. Some people like to take a block and place it under that back lifted hip. Let that hip ground instead of having to feel like you're holding it up. Lots and lots of options. See if you can learn to take advantage of them. Learn what ones your bodies need and what ones your bodies don't need. So my body was telling me to come out of that pose. Lift yourself up on an inhale, draw the forward foot back, and then figure out, do some thinking first before you move. Do you want to get into the pose the same way? Or do you have some mobility on this side that's going to allow you to do the down dog and get the foot forward? Or how can you modify the runner's lunge on this side first so that you're accommodating your body, and then move in that way. It might be the same way as the opposite side, it might not. Deep breathing. And then we'll begin to shift the hips back. We can use the blocks here. Walking our upper body back with the hips, straightening that forward knee, keeping the heel very rooted, toes lift, hamstring stretches, as well as the muscles of the lower leg into the heel and ankle. Nice. Now we'll rock forward. Figure out how you can move to now draw that forward heel back. The knee comes forward. Maybe you're lifted quite a bit. And this is where a bolster can come in handy. We can actually set that hip. It could be a couch pillow, by the way, or a bed pillow too. Setting that hip on something, giving us the support to feel the stretch in this hip without getting too tired or too fatigued from holding the body up. You're also getting a nice stretch in the front of the thigh on the extended leg, right in the middle at the top. There's this connection point that's being stretched. If you want to come down to your resting pigeon, your sleeping pigeon. Take one more breath there. And then let the next inhale lift your head and upper body up away from the floor. Do what you need to do to draw the forward knee back. We're coming back into table briefly. And from here, we'll come up into downward facing dog, pressing on the toes, lifting through the knees and hips, sending knees and hips up. So you're making an upside down V of the body. If this doesn't work for you, coming up to standing, we're headed to mountain, which is standing, through a high kneel, maybe 1 foot forward, pressing on the toe to lift the back knee, coming into a forward fold, perhaps. And we'll all meet in mountain, standing up. I'm going to take off a layer. It was very chilly this morning when I started. Making sure your body stays comfortable and at an even temperature is very helpful. All right, mountain pose here. Let's face forward. Feet as far apart as is comfortable. It's okay to be a little wider than hip distance or a little more narrow. That may be how your body needs to strengthen itself, where it needs to be to strengthen itself to be able to move the feet to a more aligned position. So standing tall, however you're standing, as tall as you can stand is the goal, even if it's being limited in some way. Let's release our hands now down by our side, and we'll come into a forward fold through a sun breath. So arms out to the side or forward, either way. We'll inhale the arms up. Exhale, we're going to we're going to move forward, keeping a flat back. So go very slow, flat back, flat back, flat back. And then release your hands. Keep the back as flat as you can. Press down through the heels and the toes of your feet. And then release fully. Let your shoulders round. Let your hands and arms droop. Let your head sway. Maybe saying yes and no. Making little circles with the crown of your head towards the floor. We'll come back up to standing the opposite way, reversing how we got in. Inhale to lift up. Back stays flat. Arms come up overhead. Exhale. Releases your arms in some way down by your side. Excellent. Let's come into chair. Inhaling the arms up. Sun breath. Exhale. We'll sink the hips down and back. Bending the knees, maybe adjusting the feet, really pressing into those four corners. And coming out as often as we need to, lowering your arms if you need to. You can keep your hands on your hips or waist. You can inhale to mountain. Exhale to chair. Inhaling to mountain. Exhaling down into chair. Nice way of strengthening the glutes, the quads, Lots of hip connectors. All right, one more. By the way, if you'd rather hold chair that whole time, that's also an option. So just think of ways you can modify your yoga to bring you the level of exertion that you want, the level of strengthening, flexing, and balancing. All right, from here, let's come from mountain down into a squat. We're going to do pretty much the same thing we just did. We're on an exhale. Instead of going into chair, we're going to squat down. Maybe we use a chair and model and demonstrate that. Maybe you're squatting without any props at all. Sorry, that's not going to work. I just realized the chair was in front of you seeing what I was doing. So that's okay. We'll show a squat from here where you bend the knees, perhaps your heels lift, tilting forward to come back up, keeping the back as flat as you can. If you'd like to do a squat without a chair, you can use your blocks. All right. Next time you are down in your squat, we're going to come into child's pose. So the cushion comes back. From here, you can come into a table first, sink into child's pose, and take a breath. Let your next inhale lift us up into table. We'll come up into downward facing dog, or we can stay at table and do cat-cow. Those of you up in downward facing dog, we'll let the knees float down. We'll cat-cow it. Let your spine come to neutral. And let's go on to our forearms. Crawl forward to come into crocodile. If you'd rather do some other movement to get you here, that's fine. So we're in crocodile. Lying down, our hands are stacked. Our forehead is on the top palm. Inhale, draw your elbows in underneath the shoulders, coming into Sphinx pose. We'll take a breath or two here. Flatten your feet, point your toes. Deep breathing. One more breath here. And then lift one foot up. Bring the heel right on top of the knee. Flex the foot and hold here for 2 breaths. Feel your hips supporting the body through the floor. The groin bone is supporting the body through the floor. The elbows and forearms. Release that foot and we'll engage the opposite foot. Let the opposite heel come up right over the knee, flexing the foot, staying with your upper body in that Sphinx pose. Releasing the leg first, coming back into crocodile for a breath. And now back up to table. Maybe you go through plank or half plank to table. And now we'll cat-cow the body just a couple more times. All right, bring your spine to neutral. We'll come forward into crocodile again. Take a breath here. Or two. Good. Now walk your elbows in toward each other to come back to Sphinx, or place your hands right under your shoulders. Keep your elbows in toward your sides and lift up into Cobra, or put them further back and lift up into Upward Dog. Breathe as you stretch the front side of the body in whatever one of the asanas suggested you'd like, or stay in crocodile if you'd like to. And we'll inhale, bringing ourselves back up to table. All right, from here, let's stretch one leg straight back behind us. Straightening that knee, we can rest the toes on the floor or lift that leg any height, but no higher than heel, even with the hip. You can keep both hands under you or move the opposite hand forward, coming into sunbird, or extending your cat here. You might just extend the leg, you might extend leg and arm, you might lift both. Breathing, doing what you need to do to strengthen your body. Then with the foot still extended back behind you, lower the toes to the floor. Now move the toes and foot and leg out to the side. Let your heel and toes come down to the floor, or keep your foot on one side lifted away from the floor. We're going to let our torso, our hips and our shoulders, our head move back and forth. Our knees bending and straightening underneath us. We'll bring our hips back to neutral and draw this leg in. Let's go to sunbird on the opposite side. Extend the opposite leg long back behind you. You may do extended cat. You can do any combination of lifting or keeping things low. Your core is engaged 360 all the way around your torso, including your shoulders and hips. And releasing sunbird, keeping the back leg extended, and then drawing it out to the side. This is where I have to modify where I am in my room just because of my space, right? And then I'm bringing the foot to the floor, or at least the edge of the foot to the floor, and I'm letting my hips drive the movement forward and back. Getting an extra little stretch in there if that feels good. All right, bringing the hips back up over on top of that bent leg knee, drawing the leg and foot back in under us. We're going to set ourselves next up for easy pose. And I'm going to model different ways we can sit. So the first way involves kneeling. If you're young, or if you have a lot of flexibility in your knees and in your hips, you may be able to take one block, place it lengthwise right in between your lower legs, and then as you sit your hips back and down, your sits bones are going to sit, place that block so that your sits bones sit right on top of that block. If your knees are bent too much in that pose, you can make a T out of 2 blocks, setting the top block wider than the bottom, which is more narrow. And then get your body back on here, and your sits bones can be supported by the block. Or You can get a couch pillow, bed pillow, or bolster and sit on top. Again, sits bones go on the prop. Legs can be straight or bent, doesn't matter. Let's do a quick pranayama breath here. Breathe slowly. So sit comfortably and begin focusing on your breath. Try breathing through pursed lips as if you were whistling, or instead gently close off your right nostril with your thumb and breathe through just your left nostril. Notice whichever method you're doing, you're not getting as much air as normal. It's not going through. So the inability to move as much air through the body begins to ease hyperventilation. Now slow down your breath by breathing into the count of 4 and out to the count of 6 for 3 full breaths. Don't force the breath. Allow the breath to slowly become more full. And then resume normal breathing. We're going to move from here down to the floor from supine. We can put a blanket under our head. Let's bend up through each knee, bring each foot to the floor. And let's begin windshield wipers by inhaling the arms into cactus arms, bending the elbows, wrists and hands right above elbows, elbows even to the shoulders. Then as you exhale next, lower your knees to one side. Inhale to lift them. We're moving really slow. Exhale them to the opposite side. Inhale lifts. Keep moving side to side with your windshield wipers. Next time your knees are straight up and down, feet are still on the floor. Let's bring our knees to our chest and wrap our arms around our legs, hugging the legs into the body. This is where we could use a strap, wrapping the strap around both legs and letting the legs be drawn into the body through the hands rather than the arms. Let's let the feet float to the floor. We'll release the strap or our arms. Let's bring just the right knee into the chest. You can use the strap here. Let your exhale release that right knee and leg. It floats down to the floor, or maybe you're lengthening it long. We'll bring the other knee in towards the chest. Maybe using a strap, maybe using arms and hands, whatever you're comfortable with. Release the knee away from the chest, straighten both legs here. And we'll take a full body stretch, inhaling the arms go up and back. Let the whole body stretch here for a few breaths, lengthening arms and legs. Doing so lengthens the torso, the spine. We'll draw our arms back down by our side, and let's walk both feet back up onto the mat. We'll bring our knees into the chest so that we can shoot our feet up towards the sky or ceiling. And we're going to come into staff pose. on our backs here. So supine staff pose. Arms are lifted, hands, wrists, elbows stacked on top of shoulders, heels, ankles, knees stacked on top of hips. And on the next exhale, we'll let it all float down. Let's lengthen those arms and legs once again. Inhale, we'll come back up into a full body stretch. This time, let's walk hands and feet over to one direction, Banana Asana. Take a breath or two here, maybe cross the opposite leg from the side that you've drawn to. Over on top, opposite hand goes on top. Walk extended arms and legs back to center and do your Banana Asana on the opposite side. Stretching out the chest, the ribs on the side. Come back to center. Release your arms back down by your side and let's have student choice. I like to give everyone a moment to do something that's going to feel good for you. Maybe it's bridge, getting rid of what might be underneath your head, lifting your hips by pressing down on your feet and on your hands and arms that are drawn close beside you. You can move up and down. Maybe you want to bring your knees in towards your body and rock from side to side. Maybe you want to take a tennis ball and place it right behind the center of your head where you have that divot in the back, right? At the base of the skull and neck where they come together. You can hold on to the ball to keep it in its place, or you can kind of roll it around underneath you, maybe making circles with your nose here. Maybe you'd rather do figure four. Take 2 more breaths. And then begin to set yourself up for final Shavasana. You can place a couch bed, pillow, or a bolster underneath your knees to help your spine more effectively release into neutral and be comfortable. Arms can be out wide like a T or anywhere along your side. Eyes can close back down. Let's slow down the breath. Letting each successive inhale and exhale lengthen the breath slightly or maintain the length of the breath at least. See if you can relax your whole body, letting it feel heavy. Let's move in a body scan from the tips of the toes, to the balls of the feet, to the arch and the side of the arch, to the heels, to the tops of the feet. Move your awareness now to your ankles, to your shins and calves, to your knees, to your thighs, hips, pelvis, groin. Move your awareness to your spine from the tailbone, through the sacrum, through the lumbar, each place where there's a rib attached, all the way through the neck and into the brain. Bring your awareness now to your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms, wrists, backs of the hands, palms, fingers, thumb, and the tips of each. To the back of the head, to the muscles surrounding the eyes, to the jaw, to the nose, and to the crown of the head. To the whole body lying on the floor, relaxed here, letting go. Focusing on the breath, coming back to this awareness each time the mind carries us away. Slowing down our thoughts by slowing down our bodies and our breath. Let the next breath in be a little deeper. Bring your awareness back to your body lying on the floor. And slowly begin to rock your head from left to right. Let's move our nose back to the middle and we'll roll our bodies over to one side, pressing up away from the floor to come up into a comfortable seated position. Taking our time, however our bodies need to move or be to be comfortable, sitting up nice and tall. Let's inhale, our arms can come out or up, out to the side or front and up. Exhale, palms stay together. Draw your fingers towards one another as the heels of the hands lower to the heart center. Let's close down the eyes if we've opened them and exhale, releasing our chin to our chest as we bow to the divine that's found in each one of us. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Let your next inhale lift your chin away from your chest, flutter open your eyes, release your hands, and thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day.